Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to our cooking demonstration. My name is Kathy Burlow, and I'm the founder and president of PDX Veg. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to Kris Eisenman's cooking demonstration on preparing plant-based recipes for picnic favorites. And Kris is a professionally trained chef, and today she's going to show us how to prepare a caprese salad with fresh vegan mozzarella, a vegan egg salad made with tofu, a curried chickpea salad, and panna cotta. And we are recording this, and we will put the video on our PDX Veg YouTube channel and send the link to everybody who signed up for the event and for the Veg Challenge. And the best way to ask questions is to write them in the Q&A, and I'm going to go and check over there and read them out to Kris periodically. So yeah, I'll turn it over to Kris.
Awesome. Thanks, Kathy. So we're going to start by making the mozzarella cheese, the vegan mozzarella cheese. And I like this recipe in part because it's the first vegan cheese I learned to make, and it's still one of our favorites. So it's pretty simple. There are a couple special ingredients, but I'll tell you where you can get them. And seeing someone do it, at least for me, the first time I did this, seeing someone really gave me the courage, for lack of a better word, to try it myself, because I hate wasting ingredients. So I like to know something's going to work. So we'll go through the whole recipe today, and then we'll make a caprese salad. So we start with some milk. And for any of my dairy replicants, I tend to use soy. I think it's the most neutral. I haven't had cow's milk in a long time, but when I was first converting from vegetarian to vegan about 13, 14 years ago, this tasted the most in recipes like cow's milk. So it's my standard for anything that I want to be pretty similar. For sweet things, later you'll see I use a combination of cashew and coconut. But for savory, soy's my thing. So I'm just gonna give this a little shake. Every once in a while when you buy soy, there'll be some little particles on the bottom. So I always give it a little shake. When you buy soy for this recipe, hopefully you can see this, it's probably pretty small.
Kind of small. There, that's better.
I'm gonna go this one. Oh, no. Yeah, well, just make sure you can see right here. We're going to switch to this camera. There we go. Right here. See how it just says water and soybeans? That's what you're looking for. 2 ingredients, no added things in it. And this is Trader Joe's. It's a great price. Another pretty good priced one is Whole Foods carries West Soy, and that's a good price as well. So those are my 2 go-tos, but if I can get Trader's, that's why I got, just again, because it's very low cost. So I am going to take how much of this? Let me look at my recipe here. 1.5 cups. And I am not going to use a liquid measure because I didn't get one out. So I'm just going to use this measuring. And I don't know if you all know this trick, but when you get these aseptic cartons, don't pour where the spout is the closest. Pour the opposite way, and it won't do that jug, 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 jug. It has some air coming out, so you get a smoother pour, and it doesn't go all over the place.
Well, that's clever. I would never have thought of that. Huh.
I just learned that not that long ago. For years, I did it wrong. And we don't have to be super accurate for this, so I'm just doing 1.5, kind of eyed the half. Put that aside. And the next thing we're going to add is some oil. The recipe on the website is for coconut oil because that's how I learned to make this originally and how I've made it for 13 years. I've kind of refined the recipe, and I always used coconut oil. And 13, 14, 15 years ago, coconut oil was seen as like a beneficial thing. And I think the science is changing a little. So I'm kind of using it less and less. So I've modified this recipe now to use extra virgin olive oil, which I love for savory applications because I love the flavor of olive oil. If you're not an olive oil person, then just change to like avocado oil or even rapeseed or sunflower oil, whatever neutral flavor oil if you don't want a flavor. But we really like, again, Trader Joe's. They have some great products for a good price. I'm using Trader Joe's again, but there's lots of products out there. So I think it's 2/3, right? Yeah. So I'm going to grab my 2/3 cup, which I should have had out and I don't. Should have one here. There we go. So I'm going to add 2/3 of cup of oil to my recipe. And cheese, you know, what we grew up with, for those of us who didn't grow up vegan, is pretty rich. So yeah, this is a lot of oil. It's olive oil, probably the healthiest oil we can use, but it is oil. If you want a healthier option for the caprese salad, you could always just use avocado. Avocado is a great, you know, high fat, healthy food. And so that's a great, when I get to the caprese, I'll remind you of that. But I'm going to use.
Would it taste really different if you use the avocado?
Well, I mean, it's avocado instead of cheese. So yeah, it tastes different, but I often, especially when I lived in California, I always made my caprese salad with avocado. I didn't use mozzarella. It was just my thing down there. It's almost like a chunky heavier tomato version of guacamole. But it's great on bread, just like you would use a caprese salad. So I like it that way. Okay, my next thing is one of our special ingredients, and that is tapioca flour. Now, if you're in the Portland metro area, which I think most of you are, tapioca flour is simple to get. Almost every grocery store has it. Bob's Red Mill makes it. You can go to the Bob's Red Mill store in Milwaukee and pick it up, or like I said, almost any grocery store. So I am dumping in a 1/4 cup of tapioca flour, which is a lot like, almost, if you touch it, feels like cornstarch. And you can see it looks just like cornstarch. So very, very similar. I'm dumping that in my blender as we move back to this camera. Awesome. Okay, the next thing we need for cheese with a Z, is tang. And there's a couple ways you can do tang. My favorite, because I almost always have it, is lemon juice. So I'm going to put, 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice in here. And I use lemon juice and soy milk as buttermilk. It curdles just like traditional buttermilk. So I use it for that. And I like it for this mozzarella. But the other thing you can use if you get into making vegan cheeses is this lactic acid. I'll let the camera get that in sharp. And this is a product from Druid's Cove. And I'm going to show you another product from Modernist Pantry. And I think they're the same company or somehow all related. So it's a company up in Maine. And I see actually on the back of the package, it says distributed by Modernist Pantry. This product's awesome. It's vegan. It says vegan on both, I think, front and back. And it adds a real cheesy tang to things. So I like to add it anytime I want something to taste cheesy. The other thing you could add to this recipe is a little of our favorite vegan thing, which is nooch, or nutritional yeast. This adds a nice cheesy umami, or that six flavor, I think it is. I'm actually going to just throw a little in there just because I feel like it today. It's not in the recipe, but you can put nooch in anything you want to taste like milk or cheese. It's a great product. And it's nice and healthy. There's just almost no calories. It's just a natural product, just yeast. Okay, got my tomato juice. I'm going to put a little salt. The recipe calls for 1.5 teaspoons, and cheese is salty. So you probably don't want to skip that. Although if you're on a salt restricted diet, you probably don't need a lot of cheese. Salt. I would just up my other flavors. I'd put a little more nutritional yeast in if I was doing that. I would definitely use lactic acid if I'm avoiding salt. And that'll amp up those other flavors. And finally, it even says magical ingredients for the modern chef. We're going to add kappa carrageenan. And kappa carrageenan, there are other kinds of carrageenan. Carrageenan is seaweed. Kappa carrageenan is the one you want because kappa carrageenan melts when heated. And we want our mozzarella, if we want to use it on pizza, or my husband stirred it into pasta the other night and it was really good. You want it to melt. So kappa carrageenan is our final ingredient. This is Modernist Pantry again, which you can get on Amazon. Super simple to get. It's not super expensive. This is a tiny envelope, but it has like enough to probably make probably 6 batches of cheese, maybe even more. So my recipe calls for a tablespoon of kappa carrageenan. And I used that tablespoon, so I'm going to grab a new one. So it, because I used it for my lemon juice. And kappa carrageenan is just, like I said, it's seaweed, but it comes in this package. It's a fine white powder. I'll just, so you can see it. Just kind of very fine white powder. And that's all my ingredients. So our next step is to blend these. I'm using a Vitamix high-speed blender, but you can use anything. You could use an immersion blender. You could use a Oster blender. You don't need a fancy blender for this. You could use a Magic Bullet. Anything will work. This is nothing special. And I'm gonna start low, just get things mixed up. And what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to knock some of those powders off the side because I was kind of sloppy when I was doing this, and give it one more good. Did I just get some in my hair? Okay. This stuff, it's a very thick, almost cream already. It's almost like very heavy whipping cream. It's very thick already. Now, if you're using a high-speed blender, you don't want to heat it. These Vitamixes will actually start heating a product. You don't want to do that. There we go. Easy peasy. That way. And I'm pouring this in here. There we go. And since I'm using this for another recipe, I'm just going to go rinse this out so I can use it later in our demo here. I'll be right back. There we go. That'll be all ready for later. Okay, watch that porcelain. Let me get this out of our way for a moment. And we will start doing the magic. So I'm going to turn on my stove here. And I'm going on a pretty low heat. This is a high output burner because we wanted it so you could see it from above. But I'm trying to put a pretty low heat. And this is where it can get scary if you've never seen it done before. I'm going to start stirring, and fairly quickly, this is going to look like a curdled mess. It's just going to be all lumpy, and you're going to be like, that does not look good. So we're just going to keep stirring. Yeah, the gun is today. I usually don't say that. So we're just going to watch this. Going to keep stirring it, and you'll see it will go into this curdled mess pretty quickly. And I'm just stirring, letting that heat come up. And it takes a second to get through the pot, obviously, the bottom of the pot and start heating my product here. So we'll just keep going. Here it goes. It's almost ready to curdle. So I always forget, like if I haven't made this for a little while, I'm like, oh yeah, it does that curdly, look at, see it, see on my, yeah, it's like, it gets really bad before it gets good. It's kind of crazy. So I'm just, you have to stir it the whole time. Like this is not a recipe you walk away from. This is a recipe you tend to. And you're starting to see the lumps?
Mm-hmm.
I think looking in my camera there. So we're gonna keep stirring. And you can see it starting to look sticky and it's getting messy. And it's going to do this. And then all of a sudden, it will start getting stringy and smooth. So you just keep going at it. It takes a few minutes. Kappa carrageenan activates at 180 degrees. And you don't have to have a thermometer to make this because we can actually see the activation as it starts to emulsify, come together, as you're seeing it start to do. See how it's starting to emulsify together? The lumps are going away. So that's all the products. The tapioca kind of makes it stringy, it helps emulsification. And then the kappa carrageenan is what allows it to go back, become a solid that you'll see in a few minutes when I get the water out and do the magic part. And then melt again. That's the kappa carrageenan part. So now I have to, it takes some arm strength. I'm not lying here. Okay, now see how it's starting to separate from the pan?
Wow.
See how it's getting stringy like cheese?
That's amazing.
See? Now we're still not done. If I took a temperature, I bet it's around 160. I'm going to do it just for fun. It is at, oh, I'm good. Look at this. Am I good? So it is around 160. We have to go to 180. And you might be thinking, well, I don't have a fancy thermometer. No worries. You will see it change. It gets really shiny. All of a sudden, it will be shiny. Right now, it's pretty dull. And again, that's a little harder to see for you on the video. But if you were standing here in my kitchen with me, you'll see, and I'll tell you when I see it to see if you can see it. But you see this magical transformation and all of a sudden it is shiny. And so that's what we're going for. And I'm just gonna watch for it. We're getting close. So we're not boiling it. Boiling would be at what, 212? Kathy, you're the scientist.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Oh, you only know Celsius. You're a real scientist. Okay.
So if you boiled it, that would be bad.
What's that?
If you boiled it, this would all fall apart.
No, it wouldn't hurt it, but it would probably stick to the bottom of the pan, and we don't want to go that far.
No.
It's starting to go shiny. Again, it's a little hard to see. I'm gonna temp it. I'm gonna check the temp and see where we are. And I can see parts are. Yeah, we're still a couple minutes away, or maybe a minute. Hey, Glenn, would you grab the water out of the freezer for me? Thanks. Yeah, it's a big thing on the right side, bottom. Okay, so we're just gonna watch for our shininess. Right side, hun. Right, other right. Bottom right. Sorry. There it is. Okay, Glenn's getting my water because that's how we make it form into balls. Okay. I'm just waiting for the shine to happen all throughout the product. And again, I can see now that it's got shiny. And I think that's probably somewhat hard to see on the camera.
A little bit.
You can tell a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since I have the thermometer, I'm going to check it again. But again, I did this for years with no thermometer.
So it doesn't stick to the pot at all?
It does a little when it cools down, but not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are just about there. We have, so what you're looking for, shiny and stretchy. You want it to stretch. Look at that stretch. So cheese-like, mozzarella cheese-like. Okay, we are just about there. I'm just going to give a second. Oh, now you really can, well, I can really see the shine. I don't know how much different it looks for you all. Do you see any difference, Kathy?
I can see some reflections that show it's shiny.
Weren't there before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we are there. So I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to bring it closer to my water. So I'll be right back. I need my, and if you move us to the other camera, what? Can you move? Ah, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I have chilled the brine, which is in the recipe. It was 6 cups of water and 3 teaspoons of sea salt. And I'm just pouring it in this bigger container because this one's kind of small. So moving that around a little. The little pieces of ice won't be a problem. And now what we do, this is kind of the crazy part, is I just scoop it with an ice cream scoop and drop it in. Scoop. Drop it.
Wow.
I'm going to do some bigger ones today because we're going to use it for sandwiches maybe tomorrow. The other thing I like with this recipe sometimes is to put, I'm going to do some smaller scoops as well. The other thing I like with this recipe is sometimes I add smoke, liquid smoke to the brine. And when I do that, you get like a smoky mozzarella. These mozzarellas, this is based on a recipe that Miyoko Schindler,
Yeah.
Schreiner. How do I say her last name, Kathy? You're better at names.
Well, I'm not sure. I
Okay, I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's based on one of her recipes. And if you buy this cheese in the grocery store, it's like $12 or $14 for like 2 little balls. Almost none. I'm gonna get a spoon, sorry. Right now. 2 little balls will be like 12 bucks. And so you can see this has now formed. Hold on, I'm trying to get the water off. There we go. You can see it's formed mozzarella balls. And it's not super firm yet because it has just been put in the water. So it hasn't been in there very long. And the bigger balls take longer to firm up. These little ones that's pretty firm. So those will be ready for me when I finish up the rest of the recipe.
That's amazing. This was really helpful. I mean, it's hard to get that impression without having a demo because
Exactly. The first time I read through the recipes, I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But then someone showed it to me and I'm like, oh, that's so easy. It wasn't hard at all. I was just scared of it at first, I think.
Yeah.
So, and that was like, 13, 14 years ago. I definitely didn't have the vegan cooking skills I have now when I first went vegan. So, okay. So that is the mozzarella. Any questions about that? I'm just going to grab something over on the side, Kathy. Any questions coming in?
Can't see any questions there. And you really made it really clear. I mean, that demo it would have been hard to say that in words, but seeing it was really helpful.
That's why I wanted to demo it versus just like recipes. Okay, so let's make our caprese. So I'm doing about a half of the normal size I would do because it's just my husband and I right now for this one. So I am going to take some little tomatoes. Now, if you don't have little tomatoes or, now we're almost at tomato season, I'd be using those great big ones. They're going to come in any day. And if I had, these are tiny. I had to get them because they were so darn cute. They're from Trader's also. Look how little it is. It's so cute. So I don't even have to cut these. I'm just putting them in the bowl. But if I had a bigger, oh, this one's kind of a little bigger, I would just cut it in half. And actually cutting a few, they do kind of lose some of their moisture into the bowl, which makes for a really nice tomatoey richness, almost like a broth. So when you put it on toast or bread, kind of soaks in there. So the bigger ones are great. I actually probably prefer them, but I could not resist these tiny little ones.
Actually,
So that's our first thing.
we do have
What's
a
that?
question that, did you have the brine recipe in our recipes? Because this person's saying she doesn't have that.
Yeah, if I did send it, but we might have missed it. It is 6 cups of water and 3 teaspoons of sea salt.
Okay.
So easy peasy. I put it in the freezer, not to freeze it, but to get it icy cold. I've done it without icy cold. It works fine. But the icy cold kind of does the magic, and I wanted to make sure it firmed up really good. And you'll store it in the refrigerator in that brine.
Okay.
And if you want to add a little liquid smoke, you just take about, to that 6 cups, I would probably put a whole teaspoon of liquid smoke. If you store it with a little less brine, just, you know, what is that? So six cups, a teaspoon. So a little less than a quarter teaspoon per cup of brine for smoke. And there's lots of vegan liquid smoke. They're not hard to get at all. Pretty much all of them are. I'm just going to move my tomatoes to the right and get our next thing, which is chiffonata basil. So I have my basil all stacked up here, ready to go into my bowl. I've already cleaned and dried the basil. So I'm just going to do a quick chiffonade, which means I just roll the basil like a little cigar shape and just cut it in little teeny ribbons. Not my best knife skills here, Kris. There we go. So these little ribbons, let's back up here. We're just going to kind of use our hands to separate them as they go into our bowl. I wish you could smell this. That's the only, we still need smell-o-vision for cooking demos. The fresh basil has to be one of the best smells out there.
It is lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I am going to get one of my pieces of, I'm going to get some of the smaller ones because, again, they haven't sat very long. The longer they sit, the better they become because they soak up some of that salty brine flavor. So let me get that. And I'm going to grab a paper towel. And I usually do kind of just pat the brine off it so there's not a lot of water. Again, kind of optional. Depends how pretty I want it. And I am just going to cut it in little pieces. And you can see here that it's firmed up. It's a nice mozzarella cheesy consistency.
Yeah, it looks exactly like the.
I know, doesn't it? This one looks a little yellow because of that that was an extra virgin olive oil. So it had a green yellow tint to it. And again, I will pick up I have a little basil in there. I will pick up some of the EVOO flavor, which again, I really like in the mozzarella. But if you're not an EVOO person, then just don't worry about it. Okay, so I've put that in my dish here. And I'm going to put more. There's not enough. I'll let that get in there though. I'm just going to do another one. One of the big ones, I think. It might be well, I better do the little ones because those big ones take a little while to firm up. I'll do 2 little ones. And I think that'll be a right amount. But the right amount isn't the recipe amount. The right amount's what you want it to be like. If you like more tomato or more cheese, more basil, less basil, whatever you want is the right amount. So you don't have to follow the recipe for this. Just do what you want. And again, I'm kind of matching the mozzarella size to the tomato size. So when you have a bite, they're similar size. I'll just mix all that in there. I'm going to do one more. And then I'm going to add the final ingredients. We're almost there in our first recipe. Okay.
That looks so good.
It is very delicious. I was double checking all my recipes for this a couple months ago. And my friends came over and they were like, oh, that's so good. And they all took some mozzarella home because they loved it so much. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix this around. And again, I actually like the cut tomato better, but I couldn't resist the teeny weeny. I love anything tiny. I love tiny food. I love tiny anything. So that is that. One last thing. Now I made this with EVVO, so I am not going to drizzle more over it. I don't think it needs it. The extra virgin olive oil taste is pretty prominent in the cheese, which I really liked again for this recipe. And so I am leaving that out. Normally I would drizzle some over. If I made it with coconut oil, I would definitely for that added flavor. But I am just going to add some balsamic vinegar. And this one has a fig infusion. Doesn't matter, just happened to be what I had in my cabinet. Any good balsamic vinegar is what you would want to drizzle over it. So I'm just gonna not even probably almost a tablespoon I put in. Again, the right amount is what you like. And I'll just put that like that. There we go. And that's our first recipe for our picnic, a nice caprese salad. So we eat this like in a bowl or on a plate of lettuce, but it's also kind of traditionally you would put it on toast. Or I'll show you in a moment, I have some bread. When we make the other salads, I'll put a little on the bread, and the bread soaks up some of that flavor from the bottom while this melds together. And the basil flavor will be in that vinegar, and some of the tomato juice will be in there. And it'll also infuse the mozzarella cheese. So it'll all be delicious. We're just going to leave that and go to our next recipe. Any questions before we move on, though?
I think we're good at the moment. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. So our next recipe is the tofu egg salad. So super quick, easy recipe. I'm going to grab a bowl. I'll use this one. So bowl, I'll place this over here. Get it out of our way. Now for tofu egg salad, this is my favorite product. Sorry, I already opened it so I could drain it. It's medium and it's Ota tofu. Ota is America's oldest tofu company, and it happens to be in Portland. How cool is that? You can go to the factory and pick this up in bulk. Realm Refinery has it in bulk. I get it at H Mart because I live in the suburbs, so it's a little quicker for me to go at H Mart. It is packaged, which I don't love, but that's what I have. So highly recommend this brand. I think I paid maybe $2.50, which is a little more than the cheapest tofu, but it has so much better flavor. And the texture, medium texture, is my favorite for egg salad. That's my first tip. Just gonna grab this. Some of the water was in there. It's pretty soft, very similar to egg. Get this out of the way. And just get some of that water off. And I'm going to dice it in a pretty, where's my camera? There we go. Kind of quarter-inch, half to quarter-inch dice. And you don't have to be careful. You could also just crumble this. It doesn't have to be diced. I find when I dice it like I'm about to do, like this, and then just kind of hit it a few times like this, I get a really nice mixture of cube and crumble. which when I ate egg salad as a kid, kind of mimics what my mom would have done with kind of she used to use that egg thing that with the little holes in it and kind of this texture. The texture will change as you mix in the mayo and the other flavorings. You'll break it into smaller pieces. So, but the piece size is really up to you. I like the flavor of tofu. So if it's a little bigger and I get more of the tofu flavor, I'm okay with that. If I wasn't a huge tofu fan, or I'm learning to be a fan, because sometimes when you have a new thing you haven't tried before, it tastes different and takes us a little while to get used to it. So if that's the case, go smaller and let the flavors go into that. And really, egg salad isn't that much about the egg. It's more about the mayo and the mustard and anything you like to put in your egg salad. Mm-hmm. So the recipe for this is, if you liked egg salad before you were trying to be vegan, or before you became vegan, or plant-based, whatever you want to call it, just use that recipe. Just make sure you use a vegan mayo. Today I'm using Vegenaise, the original Vegenaise, which is a great product. It's a little more spendy than Best brand, which I find at most grocery stores and Target, or Just brand, which is at Target and maybe Whole Foods right now. They're all great products. They all taste like mayo. I think Best probably tastes the most like what I remember mayo being. But I've kind of got used to Vegenaise because that's why I used, because that's all there was for a long time. So the recipe I have here says 6 tablespoons, I think. Yeah, but it's really what you want to put in there. So I'm just going to put that on the top. And then I'm going to add all my other ingredients. And as I was saying when we were making the cheese, nooch makes things taste kind of that umami. It adds that 6th flavor, that 6th taste. We have, salt, sweet, I can't do them right now, sour, whatever. But it adds something to this. So I'm going to put just what did I say, a tablespoon? Yeah, 2 tablespoons. I'm going to put some nooch in there. I'm not measuring. I do this all the time. I'm just going to adjust the flavor. And then the other thing that really makes this taste eggy is this. Anything you're making that you want to taste eggy, tofu scrambles, whatever. And I can go to the other camera if we want to. You add this black salt. Now, black salt is not black. We're going to try this camera and make sure you get a really good view of this. We're going to come up. There we go.
Did you get that online?
There's the focus.
Yeah. Do you get it online? Do you get it online, or is there a store in Portland?
I get this one online, but there's plenty. Any of the Asian food stores like H Mart, 99 Ranch, Fuban, they all have it. They won't look, it's not this brand. I love barrel and burlap spices. They're super flavorful, and I think it's worth buying for me because I don't use a ton of this. It's worth it for me to make an order with them and go with them. And what this does is adds a sulfury, eggy smell and taste. A lot of taste is smell, so the smell is important. And I said 3/4 of a teaspoon, I mean. And again, I'm just going to eye it, and then I'm going to taste it, and we're going to know if it's right when I taste it. Now, in my family, my mom always added dry mustard. And dry mustard, again, I'm using a product from Burlap and Barrel, but dry mustard you can get anywhere. You can get it in the bulk section at New Seasons. You can buy it everywhere. Frontier is a great brand. Any brand's going to work. It's just ground yellow mustard. It's what they make yellow mustard in a jar from. And if you don't have dried yellow mustard, you could use yellow mustard in the jar. But I think dried has a different flavor profile. And mom used it, so I have to use it because that's what I remember egg salad being around.
Mhm.
You know, when my mommy made it, when I was a little kid.
Mm.
So it was one of our school lunches for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put, I think I said a teaspoon, but I said 2 teaspoons. I measured this when I did it for the recipes. There we go. This is excellent yellow mustard from this company, but all of the Frontier is probably what I use most, and it's great. And then egg salad tends to be yellow. Oh, don't want that. What we want for this, and we won't need a close up, this is pretty big. Turmeric. I again use burlap and barrel, but any turmeric. You know, I really like their turmeric. It has a more mellow flavor, but I love turmeric, so I've never had a bad one. But I use a ton. I have it I get a very large jar from Burl and Burlap that lasts me a year. And I use this in tofu scrambles as well as my egg salad. How are we doing on time, Glenn? Thanks. My timer went on
I
power
have
save.
a question about the black mineral salt. Is that black mineral salt? Is it their 2.5 ounce size jar?
This jar is 2.8 ounce.
Okay.
In the store, and it's also called, the Indian word for it is, it's not on this one, but it's like Kalanamka. It's Kala, 2 words, Namak. And so that's my favorite. This brand is my favorite, but in the grocery store, maybe not, definitely Amazon, and in all the Asian food stores, and probably New Seasons or Whole Foods, you can get it pretty easy.
Thanks.
And then finally, salt and pepper to taste. But what I'm going to do is kind of mix it up here, and I'm not going to be super neat because I use too small of a bowl. But the key here is to get your spices, and especially that black salt, mixed in. And the flavor is going to bloom over about a half an hour. So as you make this, don't make it right before you want to eat it. Make it at least a half an hour or up to 2 days. This will stay in the fridge for a couple days. Now, my mom used to put in green olives. But what my husband and I like in this is jalapeno. Just going to put some minced jalapeno in there. And a little red onion, minced red onion. And that's just totally whatever amount you like. Oh, that's not even near enough. We love jalapeno in my family. So got to put more in there. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick stir, and then I think I'm there. And salt and pepper, the mineral salt, the black salt, definitely has a little bit of salty flavor. We tend not to use a lot of salt in my house, and the mayo has salt already, so I probably won't need to add any. But that's all up to you. Black pepper is really excellent in this as well. I love black pepper. In fact, I think today I'm feeling peppery. So I'm just going to put some black pepper in there as well. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to do a quick taste, make sure my spices don't need adjustment. No, it tastes like egg salad. It's the black salt and the mustard, I'm convinced. Let me hold it up to our camera here. There we go. Don't have my pepper in, but that's our second salad for our picnic. And again, just whatever you did, or whatever you've done or your parents did, whoever it is, just make egg salad. Just sub in tofu, the black salt, and the mustard for the egg, and a little turmeric for color, because the yellow, you want to see the yellow. So we're going to put that one aside and go to our next one. I'm watching the time there, and we want to get all our recipes in. So our final salad recipe for our picnic is a curried chickpea salad. And I've also made this using chicken that chicken, again, spelt different. Can't say it, but, vegan chicken. You can get a few brands. They're kind of a broiled, and follow the package instructions to cook them, because some of them just need cooking after being frozen or refrigerated to make sure they're safe. And then chill it and cut it in, a 1/2-inch dice or so. I've used that for this recipe for years, but I'm really trying to eat more beans. They're so good for us. The fibers are so good for our systems and our happy bacteria in our intestines. So I like to use them. So I've used a can of chickpeas here. I'm just going to dump that in there. And I've taken the seeds off those. It's not a must. It's kind of if you want it to look pretty, it looks a little prettier. When I'm making tuna salad from chickpeas, I don't take off the skin, because I actually think that skin gives you kind of the fillet of the tuna. But with this chickpea salad, I like them without the skins on. And just real quickly, I left some with the skins on. It's super quick to do this. All you do is take a paper towel or a regular towel, and you just put some pressure on it and roll them. And the skins, you can see, let me move this to our close-up cam over here. Can you move us to this camera? There we go. And you can see the skins come right off. So
I didn't realize that was so easy just to get them to come off.
So easy. Then you have to kind of pick through them, and sometimes one will hold and you kind of have to pop it off like that. But super easy. It takes a couple minutes. If I'm doing it for friends, I'll probably do that. If usually for just my husband and I I'm not going to bother. And I'm probably just going to throw them in the way I don't really care how it looks like every day. So that's all that takes. So back over here to our salad. I'll let the camera come back. Come on, camera. There we go. So here we are back. We have our chickpeas, and we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. And this one, again, mayo. These are mayo-based salads. I don't know why I do mayo-based salads for picnics, but it's just what I grew up with, and it's on my brain. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to put some mayo in here. And then I am going to put some minced onion. Again, you don't like onion? It's your recipe. Don't put onion in it. I like onion, and I like celery. My grandparents had a boat growing up, and they always made us chicken salad, and I never liked it because I didn't really like chicken. Didn't figure out I was supposed to be a vegetarian until I was about 17. But so I wouldn't eat it, but I still have fond memories of it because it's my grandparents. So they always put, my grandma, Nana and Pop, always put celery in the chicken salad, and I did like the celery part. Now here's where I've gone way out from Nana and Pop's chicken salad because they never did the rest of this recipe. The next things I put in are some slivered almonds. And you want to look, you can get blanched. They taste pretty good, but these toasted, dry toasted, no oils or anything, they've just been put in the oven. If you got blanched, you could just put these in the oven or in a fry pan for a few minutes till some color goes on them. Color equals flavor. And when you put nuts in, you heat them a little and they get toastier, they get darker. That adds a lot of great flavor. And so we're just going to add, what did I say? 2 tablespoons. Again, I just eye it because you do it till what you like. And some fruit. Now I'm using raisins today. Currants are a little easier because they're smaller. I'm going to skip chopping these because we're getting a little tight on time, but not too bad. I'm just going to throw some raisins in there. You don't like raisins, you could do cranberry. You could do pineapple. The dried pineapple is really good in these kinds of salads. You could leave it out. You could put dried mango, and I'm going to put some mango chutney in a moment. So that would be a really nice, if you like mango and want that extra punch of mango flavor, you could do that. I'm just throwing some of those in. And then my final two, are they my final two? Probably. Again, I make this a little different all the time. So do what you want. I'm going to put a little bit of mango chutney. Again, it's been a Trader's Day today. I usually use mango or Major Gray mango chutney from the Indian store. That we have really great Indian stores out in like Beaverton, Hillsborough, and I'm sure on the east side as well. But Beaverton and Hillsborough have awesome Indian grocery stores. Did you get that? Okay. And this is a Sri Lankan one, which is very similar, slightly different flavor profile. I really like it.
Is it kind of spicy?
It's not very spicy. It's chunky. I'm looking where pepper is. Chili powder is, it's mango, sugar, of course, garlic, and then chili powder, but it has very little. Has some cinnamon and some cardamom. So I'm just doing about a tablespoon of that. Again, whatever you like. And then we need some chili powder. Oops, right here. Again, happen to be using burlap and barrel. I don't always, it's just today seems to be a Trader and a burlap and barrel. I love Penzeys. There's a Penzeys store in Beaverton. Is there still one downtown? I don't think so. There used to be. And then you can get Frontier brand everywhere in Portland, lots of places. Just a basic plain curry, nothing special. It'll say curry. And it's a nice blend, and that I'm just going to put, what did I say, a tablespoon probably. Yeah, I said a tablespoon, but again, it's to taste. So it's whatever you want to put in there. And if you didn't want to make a curried chicken salad, leave it out. And you have a great chicken salad without the chutney and the curry. You just have a regular one, which is great too, just different. And here it is. And I'm just going to mix that all up. And I'm mixing it on top so that the mango and the curry flavor gets into the mayo. And then I'll just, wow, I am messy today. I use too small of bowls. I usually use really huge bowls, but I had to keep everything small on the counter today. Okay, so I am just going to mix this up. And again, use it's to taste. Use less mayo. This one, I often use very little mayo when I want to be a little healthier. Or I did include on the website, I believe Kathy has it there, a tofu-based no oil. Did I do the no oil one for you? Yes, I did the no oil, super healthy. If you are either trying to lose weight or you're on a heart healthy diet, I would recommend that recipe. And it's still creamy and delicious, but it's way healthier than mayo. Mayo is not a health food. But I'm going to pretend at the picnic, we're getting lots of exercise. We're going to do some pickleball, and maybe we're going to walk to the park so I can have a little more indulgent foods today. And there we have it. That is our curried chicken salad.
Yummy.
It's so good. This is kind of very loosely, I don't even remember the original recipe, but years ago, Trader's had a vegan chicken curry salad. I think they do a normal chicken curry salad. And I think I probably originally, when I first started making this, looked up that recipe and based it somewhat off that. But this is what it's evolved to. And I love it. It's delicious. So we got our 3 salads done. And I'll tell you what, I mean, you know what bread looks like. I'm not going to plate it because we might be tight on time, but I love for a picnic to get a baguette and have the store slice it. And there we got our slice. They do it. This one has some rosemary in it. If I was doing a fancy dinner party, I would do that curry chickpea salad. I might even do the egg salad. You could do tea sandwiches for a fancier party, or you could toast this, rub a little garlic on it, and make it an appetizer at a fancy fall or winter party too. So lots of options. And it travels so well. It's all cut, and you can just, when Glenn and I, my husband, were first dating 40 some odd years ago, long time. We used to grab, they would cut bagels like this, and we'd grab like deli sandwich and go to the park and have this kind of stuff. So delicious. Okay, so any questions about any of the salads before we move on to the panna cotta?
You were so clear. I think that if anybody has a question, they can ask, but I certainly seemed clear to me.
Yeah, we are tight on time. I am sorry about that. We got that little bit of late start. Okay, so for my vegan desserts, I tend to use a blend of cashew milk and coconut cream. So I do panna cotta this way. I do creme brulee this way. I do any pastry cream. That's my milk. That's my go-to for sweet applications. So we start with 2 cups water and a cup of cashew. I'm putting that in my blender.
Did you pre-soak those then for a while?
I did, but I didn't have to. The only reason I did is because I was getting ready for the demo and wanted it to be easy. If you're using a Vitamix, no pre-soak needed. If you're using a normal blender like an Oster, you would pre-soak. But for the high speed blender, no need. And then coconut cream, good old traders again today. It's so funny. I don't feel like I usually buy so many products from them, but all this stuff, they have good prices for some of this specialty stuff. So there's coconut cream. Coconut milk, not the light stuff, but regular coconut milk is also rich and delicious. This is just a little richer. It's basically the top part off the coconut milk can, so with none of the water. So it's a very, very equivalent to heavy cream, very high fat product. Not an everyday food, but a once in a while food. And I'm going to put that in my blender. And because of the lights, it was fairly liquid. On a normal day in my house, this would be almost solid, but it's a warm day and we have the lights on in here for the cameras, so it's a little warmer in here. And I am going to just zip that up so it's nice and smooth. So here we go. Okay, easy. Now I need 2.5 cups of this mixture. It makes a little more than that. If I have any left, what I do, how we doing time-wise? Are we right at 1:30? Sorry, Kathy, we're running a little over on you.
Oh, we got a late start, so.
Yeah, so we understand if you have to leave us. So I'm going to take 2.5 cups of that. I'm just pouring the rest out because I need to use my blender. Pop in this back here. Okay, so 2.5 cups of the milk, that milk mixture. And my other ingredients from the website. So we have just a hint of nutritional yeast. Again, the umami. There we go. I put a teaspoon, that's plenty. You're just giving a little background flavor of that more cow's milk flavor. And then I have 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. So I have just an organic sugar here. Organic sugar is always vegan. If you don't get organic, it may or may not be vegan. Most non-organic sugar in the US is not vegan because they use bone char to make it more white. You can probably see on this, this is not white. It's kind of an off-white, and that's because they didn't use bone char in it. So organic sugar tends to be a little off-white. Okay, so that's in the blender. And the magic of this recipe is agar. Again, Modernist Pantry is a great place for agar. This is considered super agar, so you need very little to gel an item. And this is the vegan equivalent to gelatin. You want to make Jell-O? This is how you make it. You want to make Panna Cotta? Agar. And I think it's even better than gelatin because agar has the ability to heat, cool, and heat again. And you can't do that with gelatin. And the reason that's kind of cool, oh, I already measured this out, so I don't need to open that package. So I'm just dumping my agar in. If you use flaked, I'm going to back up here and say, if you use flaked agar from like any store in town that you buy it, you'll use different amounts, and both are on the website. I'm using the super agar, so I just had a very little bit I put in there. And then a little salt, which sounds funny because you're probably thinking, you know, salt in dessert. But yeah, we actually want salt in dessert. You want to add just a pinch. And turmeric, if you want to add color. I find the vegan milks are a little gray. And the turmeric just kind of makes it a little more creamy, buttery color. So just a pinch. In fact, I have a little turmeric. Oh, that might be curry. I'm going to make sure I use turmeric. I'm just going to put literally a pinch, barely any in here. Because you don't want to flavor it. You just want to add a little color, make it look more milky. And you can add other things. You could add ginger. Today, I'm going to make a vanilla panna cotta, just because I feel like something different. Panna cotta traditionally has no flavor to speak of, but you can make lemon with lemon zest. You can make ginger with ground, ginger, fresh ginger. You could make vanilla like we're going to do today. So I'm going to just take a little bit of this vanilla gel, or vanilla paste, they call it. It's kind of a gel. And put not even a teaspoon, probably half a teaspoon, just because I feel like a vanilla version today. Okay. And that's all that is. And then we just blend it up really well again before we cook it.
And what was your brand of the vanilla paste?
Okay.
Kris, what was your brand of the vanilla paste?
Oh, it was Trader's again.
Oh, okay.
I got so many things at Trader's when I went to get my stuff for the cooking demos. They had everything I needed, so I just got all Trader's. Funny. There's some very expensive brands at Whole Foods that I would have got if I couldn't get Trader's, but Trader's is way cheaper and it's delicious. I've used it before. So now I'm going to put this on the heat and we are going to start stirring it. Agar, the secret to agar, oh, right here. I'm like, where's my stirrer, my spatula? The secret to agar is you have to activate it. And I'm going to see if it says the temperature, but the activation, yeah, it does. So it says on the back of the package, hydration temp 180. What that means is it has to come to 180 degrees to be fully hydrated and activated. So I am just going to bring it to a boil. That'll be, if it starts boiling, I know it's over 180 degrees. And in cooking school, I was taught to let it boil for 5 minutes. We're not going to have time for that today. But that's what you would do in real life. Let it cook for 5 minutes at a very slight boil. And again, we're running out of time because of our late start, but no worries. And once this boils and activates, it's boiled for 5 minutes. I would put a little bit on a spoon and or even, I'm going to stir this as we talk. I would put some like, in the bottom of a dish or on a spoon that had flat surface, and I'd put it in the refrigerator and I'd check the set in about 3 to 5 minutes and see if it's the texture I want. And for panna cotta, we're going for a gelled texture, kind of like a loose jello is what traditionally panna cotta would have. If I'm making creme brulee, I would use a little less and I would have more of a puddingy texture. So not as gelled, not as firm.
The ingredients would be the same for creme brulee?
Almost. I can send you that recipe if you want to put it up on your website, Kathy. I actually use a combination of agar and cornstarch in my creme brulee because creme brulee has a different mouthfeel. Panna cotta is jellied. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong camera. Sorry. Panna cotta is jellied and creme brulee is not. It's a pudding.
Okay.
So they're a slightly different recipe I've developed for both. But they're both really delicious. Creme brulee is traditionally vanilla. Panna cotta traditionally does not have flavor. So a little different recipe, but both delicious. What I do, and again, I'm just going to turn this off because I don't quite have time. There's a picture on the website. What I have these these are from OUI yogurt. You can buy these on these cute little lids on Amazon. So that's perfect for a picnic because they can go in the basket cooler and they're sealed and really nice. So I'm going to put panna cotta to about here. And there is a recipe for a fruit topping. Not going to have time to make it today, but it's super simple. You don't need anybody to show you that one. That is a gelled fruit topping because right now, if you read all the pastry magazines, which I tend to do, gels are really in. If you watch cooking shows, they always make gelées, a gel on top. So I thought it would be fun to do more of a gelled compote on top. And you can use any combination of fruit. We just got pounds of blueberries from our CSA. So I'm going to make blueberry when we finish here today. But you can do strawberry, blueberry, raspberry, blackberry, or any combination of those. And it's delicious. So I go about here with the panna cotta, firm it up in the fridge for maybe an hour, and then put the fruit topping on top, put your cover on, firm those up, and they're ready to go to your picnic. Or kids love that. Grandkids, kids, whoever you have in your life, love anything jello-y or pudding-y. So it's a delicious treat for them as well.
Sounds great.
So I think we have a couple minutes. That was fast, Kathy, and I don't want to go over but
not up right. Yeah.
Any questions? I'm looking at my clock. It's like almost right on time.
Yeah.
Any questions about anything we've done today?
Let's see. And how long does that last? How long can you keep that dessert in the refrigerator?
I would say 5 days. I haven't tried it longer than that, but all the components are good for at least 5 days.
Okay.
So I'd say 5 days.
Well, it's so good that you wouldn't have a reason to keep it.
Yeah. And in fact, everything I made today, 5 days is great. The cheese it's sitting in brine. So when you store this cheese, you're going to store it covered with the water. And or, put the smoke in if you want to do smoked cheese. And that can store at least 10 days.
Wow.
And just as long as it still smells the same as when you put it in there, you'd probably be fine. That's a well-cooked pasteurized product in a salty brine. So it has a little longer life. Everything else I made, I'd say 5 days would be the max.
Yeah.
And none of these things last 5 days at my house.
Yeah, sure.
They get eaten pretty quick.
Yeah. They sound great. Well, does
Any other questions?
Anybody else have any questions?
Oh, before we leave, real quick, Kathy.
Yeah.
Can I get it? Oh, I only have a blue one left. We did salads 2 weeks ago in the jar.
Oh, wow. That's
Isn't
great.
that cute?
That's so cute. That's so good.
And this recipe on the bottom is from Linda Tyler's new book. And she's doing the cooking demo in 2 weeks, right, Kathy? Is that 2 weeks?
I'm not sure. That's not for
Okay,
us.
whenever it is.
Yeah.
This is her sun-dried tomato dressing. And it was really great. I just wanted a dressing for the bottom of the container. So I wanted to try my cookbook from her, and it's really delicious. So there we go.
Great. That's great. Well,
Another thing to bring on a picnic.
Yeah, everybody was happy with the recipes you picked and want to eat them all and can't wait to make them. So
I can't wait till we can make them in person again.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
something we can aspire to.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Kris. This was wonderful.
Always nice spending time with you, Kathy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, thanks.
thanks so much.